This is Dyslexic Design Thinking. For the past 25 years, Gil Gershoni has been the head of his own branding agency, Gershoni Creative. And one of the things he's passionate about rebranding is his dyslexia. In this series, Gil sits down with members of the dyslexic community for eye-opening conversations about the intersection of dyslexia and creativity, and what dyslexia can teach us about ourselves and the world around us. Today, Gil talks to director, actor, and writer Aaron Wolf. Aaron is the co-founder of Howling Wolf Productions and the founder of the I Am Able Foundation. Enjoy.
Welcome, Aaron.
It's great to be here, Gil. I'm really excited to chat with you today.
It's great to have you, man. What inspired you to pick up the camera? Do you remember a moment as you were younger that you're like, this is my callings?
You know, it's all I've ever really known. I grew up in LA. I grew up around the movie industry as well. So my dad was a writer at the Walt Disney Company for corporate there. So as a kid, I was on the set. I was precocious. I'd walk into sets. I'd ask directors and actors like what they were doing, how they were doing it, why. Like I was always curious. And this was always the industry that it was just all I ever knew. So to answer your question, I never had a plan B.
Mm-hmm.
And then life gets in the way and you realize, oh, there's other things we have to do as well. So, but yeah, it was all I ever thought. I didn't know any other thing.
Do you remember the first thing you made with the camera? Is there a moment it was like, oh, I remember I shot this thing, or I was on set, or is there a moment that sort of kind of triggers the first time?
There's a bunch of first things. One that was really fun was in high school. I made a sock puppet movie. I'd always loved the Muppets as a kid. So I made this movie, The Many Adventures of Winston Williams the 12th, and it was sort of a parody thing with sock puppets. So I did that. I did an Indiana Jones parody, probably in junior high. Yeah, I mean, I was just always playing with the camera and having fun with it. And then to get into like NYU, I made a couple films that won some awards. And that one was about learning disabilities, actually. It was called The LD. And it was a comedy about two reporters who go into the woods in search of the LD. What is this LD that people talk about? What is this dangerous disease that people have? And in the process of the film, they realize that they themselves have learning disabilities. And that probably is what got me into NYU, I think. I'll never know for sure, but you need to make films to get in. So I was in it and directed it with my friend Mark, and who's an actor now on TV shows. And we both have learning disabilities. So I don't know. Yeah, it's always been a part of me.
And I think part of the thing that's interesting to our audience is how do you get from being a young person with learning differences and reaching the kind of experiences and successes that you have? And I think part of it is the stories of how we got here, so seeing movies about learning disability, LD movie, is part of the story of how you overcome and how do you find your strength and how you sort of feed your dyslexia to become a better, fuller, complete person, What kind of stories inspire you the most?
I always tend to make things where there's a piece of me that's in there that I can relate to. I've never made a Transformers. I've never made a Marvel movie. I don't quite grasp it. So I tend to make things that there's a piece of me in there or a piece of what I know, because I only know what I know. So I don't try to pretend I know what I don't know. So I always make things, even when we've done horror film or comedy, there's always something, there's some inkling of something that I know. Even when I act in things, it's about grabbing a piece of me and then putting that into the character and then becoming that character. So that's how I approach it. I know other people can do it differently. I tend to use only what I know. I don't want to copy someone or create something that that isn't me. So I'm always inspired by the world, by every day. I can't think of ideas all the time because I'm looking around and I'm learning and seeing things every day. And that the daily beauty of life is my inspiration. And sometimes the bad parts. It's also my inspiration.
It sounds very authentic.
Yeah, I hope so.
Some of us spend most of our life to try to find that place where it's just the truth, our truth, that sort of inspire us to be our better selves, as you said, for good and differences. In addition to directing, you also have a production company, Howling Wolf. You write, you act, you study improv. How do you decide which muse to follow?
It changes day to day. I have ADHD too, so it changes from day to day what I gravitate toward most. Some of it is opportunity based at this point. So there's strikes going on in our industry. So what are the opportunities when our guilds are on strike and we can't do certain things? So then what is possible? I look at when one door closes, what are the opportunities that we're going to see because of that? And I try to do that all the time because I love doing it all. My thing is, if I could, I'd be in 5 places at once, acting in something, doing my groundling stuff, doing my acting classes and performing in things and directing and writing and hosting. I do a lot of public speaking. I would do all of it at the same time, but I can't. And so it's whatever is available in that moment or whatever people want from me or whatever I feel I can pull off, that's what I do.
Mm-hmm. I know recently you founded a foundation, I'm Able Foundation.
Yeah.
Tell us how that got started. What was the catalyst for it?
It goes back to that coming out of the closet with your disability. I was empowered finally to do that. And I then realized that this is a huge, huge cultural problem in our society where people aren't feeling that they're enabled to be able to come out and say, I am able, I have differences in the way I learn, and I am also able to achieve in an amazing way. And it's far too hard to get people to do that because of society saying this is the normal and this is the abnormal. And no one wants to be called disabled, different. And my mission with I Am Able is for everyone through media, through film, through reaching out, through discussion, through our empowerment groups. It's for everyone to come out loud and proud and say, I am able. I am able, whether I learn in the normal way, in the abnormal way, I'm dyslexic, I'm on the spectrum, I have ADHD, whatever it might be. I have mental struggles in my head, that they're able to say, you know what, this is what makes me who I am. And I am so proud that I am that person. And you're your person, and I'm me. And I am able because I am proud. So my goal with this, and we've been around a couple of years and we're really growing, which is beautiful. My goal with the whole thing is for more and more people, young and old, to be able to say, I am able. And I'm damn proud of it.
I love that. I love the idea that we're a whole person. You know what I mean? Like we're complete both with our strengths and differences, and we all have it, And by focusing on our abilities, our strengths, it only gives us more skills and confidence to be able to be complete and to belong and to be part of the community. And I love what you guys are doing. Who does the foundation I'm Able serve?
Right now, well, we have lots of different pieces to our puzzle. Right now, we're doing a big initiative called We All Learn Differently, and it's directed at middle school students. So that there's a film, there's a playbook, it's all coming out in a few weeks. And there's going to be some press and stuff on it. And it's about getting people who have learning disabilities and who don't to have conversation, and in 6th, 7th, and 8th grade, so that there's an understanding on both sides. Because in order to really make change, any civil rights movement, any big movement, in order to really make change, yes, our community, the dyslexic, the learning disabled community, we can talk about it all day, but it still takes the people who don't have learning disabilities to understand in order for the change to truly happen. And so our goal is to get everyone to understand, everyone to see that there's no right or wrong, there's just different. And therefore, then real change can take place. Then the real new civil rights movement for people with invisible disabilities can happen. And so this initiative right now in middle school, it's like that's when kids are coming of age. That's when kids are becoming adults. So that's when the conversation needs to begin.
Yeah, sounds amazing. How do people out there that want to learn more about this campaign and get involved can participate?
Good question. So you can go to iamablefoundation.org, and there's all our socials linked there. I Am Able FND, I think they are. But if you go to iamablefoundation.org, there's going to or basically now in the next week or two. It's going to be, there's already a bunch of initiatives, empowerment groups, different ways to be involved. You sign up and then you get information about how you can get help, how you can have resources. There's resources on the page already, and then how you can further be involved. And so I'd sign up and then follow us on different socials or follow me. And I'm pushing this stuff out all the time because I believe in it. And then we have another initiative coming out really soon that's going to deal more with adults.
My strength is for my differences, and because of the road I've taken, and I wonder if you have the same experience, because of the struggles I've had, that's, I turned my disabilities into hyper abilities. Not because I don't have challenges, but because I've overcame some of it. I learned how to accept it. I learned how to, as you said, to come out and be able to speak about it. And that's what gives me the strength and the ability to be who I am. And I know that that's from the work you do, the work I do. That's really kind of part of the secret process of discovering who you are and getting into your full identity, and the film that you've done for I'm Able is really awesome. What's the intersection between I Am Able and your filmmaking career?
Yeah, I Am Able is all about using media and film to inspire and teach. Because I believe the best way that people can easily access something is watching something. We're living in the media era. I mean, it's everywhere. It's on your phone. It's on your TV. It's on your computer. There's nowhere you look that there isn't media. So I believe instead of papers and pamphlets to start, we need film. We need short film, long film. We need commercial. We need things that are media driven, which is what I do, to inspire and to give people, as you were saying, to give people hope that they can be who they want to be or who they are. Being who you are, we're not disabled. We're not bad. Disabled means not able. And no, we are able. It's just a different kind of able than most people. And so we want to convey those messages through what the other part of my work, which is film and acting and talking and performing and all the things that I do. I want to use those pieces to make I Am Able a better organization and to convey our messages. So that's a bit, I think, pretty long-winded answer to your question.
I want to go a little bit to the beginning for a moment. How old were you when you were diagnosed with dyslexia?
I was a late bloomer in the diagnosis world because it was weird. I got early on in school, which happens to a lot of people. I've talked to so many people who've had this happen. I was told I have high intelligence. So then I got the label after that. Instead of being a learning disabled and getting the help I needed, I was just labeled as an underperformer. I always say, starting in second grade, I had outside of my classroom, I had the errand chair. And my teacher, starting in second grade, going all through school, I'd be sent out to the errand chair because I'd misbehave. I would not pay attention. I'd be, the education system as it was not for me. And so then I didn't get diagnosed till like high school because my parents were always said, Aaron, he's really bright, but he doesn't quite perform up to standard. And he's always underperforming. He's always getting distracted. He's always, reading comprehension, I was terrible at. And then paying attention, I was terrible at because I couldn't comprehend. So what would I do? I'd underperform, then I'd cram for a test. I'd try to just get by, and there you go. So, yeah. So it was kind of not a great thing to get that label of, oh, he's intelligent, so he's just underperforming. But then once I got diagnosed, and I hate that term too, once I was told, this is who you are, Aaron, I then was able to start to realize that some of those messages I had gotten my whole life were negative for the wrong reason, and I can really start to be me.
And what age was that?
It started around like 16, then 17, and it kind of evolved. They started to learn more. It's more of what, quote unquote, is wrong with me. But as I learned, it's more, no, this is what makes it me. This is what makes everyone who they are. This is what makes you Gil. But yeah, they frame it. This is what's wrong with you. Then you go to college. It's like, all right, you go to the Center for the Learning Disabled People. And it's like the walk of shame. but it shouldn't be. It should be
Seriously.
it should be the walk of empowerment. It shouldn't be the walk of shame.
Right.
But it feels that way.
Right. Yeah. How did they discover you were dyslexic?
I don't know. It was testing. I think they did testing in high school, and I don't totally remember the tests, but they do a bunch of different testing, and you see a psychologist, and it's not a very fun process. So I think I blocked a little bit of it out.
Yeah, try to forget.
Yeah, exactly. Because it's like you're being grilled to see what's wrong with you. But again, that's why I started I Am Able. I want you to be grilled to see what's right with you and not what's wrong with you. Because these experiences can then, like, I'll tell you one experience that really stuck out. I was in my freshman year of college, and I'd been diagnosed with this stuff, and I had a test to take. And it was in a lecture hall of like 500 people. And we had this test, and my reading comprehension is, it's in the dumps. So 500 people in the class, then like 400, then 300, because people are finishing the tests, then 200, then 100, then 50, then 20, then 10, then 1. And it's just me sitting there staring off into space, trying to read the test over and over again, not comprehending. And I felt so alone. And then they ended up saying, excuse me, kid, can you go into this like little closet room to finish the test? Because I had extra time. So they were like, can you go in there? And I felt like the smallest little insect in this room, because I just kept and I couldn't get it. I just couldn't finish the test. I couldn't read fast enough. I couldn't comprehend it. Everything was getting jumbled, as we know how that works. And so I don't want that to happen to other people. I want that to stop. I don't want people to feel isolated like that, because it's a very lonely existence that way.
Yeah, you sharing the story just got me stressed out, man.
Yeah.
I could definitely, I can relate to that.
Well, that's why I Am Able's around in our organization. So we stop that, and we start empowering people so they don't ever get put in that situation in the first place.
Right.
Why is a kid who's learning, can't read well, why are they in a 500-person class taking that test in the first place?
Right.
Like, it makes no sense.
After you were diagnosed, did they provide you with some more support and resources?
Yeah. I mean, I got resources, and I was given help, and I think I saw a therapist, and I was going to the center, like the place for kids with disabilities. And I think there was a coach. I had all kinds of stuff, man. And the one part that I just wish was there that wasn't was, Aaron, you're great the way you are, and we're going to help you with these things you struggle with. And I never got that message. I got here's all the stuff you struggle with message. And
right. Try harder.
Yeah, exactly. Try harder. These kinds of never-ending phrases that should go into it could be obliterated, because they're just not. They don't help anyone. I believe in finding the strengths in people and building those up, not finding the weaknesses and building those down. And the system really did that to me for a bit. But then, I found my place with what I am good at. And then I was able to say, yeah, I struggle with this stuff, but look, I made a film that won some awards. And did you do that? Not that you should, but did you do that? No. Okay, so good. So we both can accomplish things, and we both have things we can't do. All right, we're on an even playing field now. Let's keep moving forward.
Right. During those tough times when you were a little younger, and where did the encouragement come from?
I was encouraged. My family was supportive. I don't think, my folks didn't totally understand it, but they supported it. So I got it there. And then which is a bad place to need to get it from, but then I got it from outside acceptance, which is not where which is not where I recommend that people get it from, but I got it from outside acceptance because people liked some of the things that I did. And so then I thought, well, I'm getting approval from the outside world for these things I'm good at. So at least people are liking what I do. So then the things that I'm not good at it's overriding the things that I'm not good at. I don't recommend that. I don't think that's an actual good solve. I think it needs to come from within, but for me, it definitely came from outside acceptance first. And then I started to build a stronger version of myself.
When did you realize that dyslexia could be a positive rather than a negative?
I'm still learning, you know?
Mm-hmm.
I am still learning all the ways that it's a positive, that it makes people who they are. Life is a constant it's a cheesy phrase, but life is a constant learning experience. And so I know a lot more about why it makes people who they are and why it makes certain people great than I used to. And I sure have learned a lot more from the organization and doing all this work. And I've been giving like talks and stuff about being learning disabilities, or talks at different events and things for a while. So I've gotten to learn more about why it's our superpowers, and I'm continuing to learn as I continue to struggle. Like, it's not like every day, like you were saying, it's not like executive functioning or reading fast or, things. These things are not what I'm good at, and they're never going to be. And it's tough for other people to sometimes understand that, like, that's just not who we are. But on the contrary, check out a film I made, or for someone else, check out an art project, check out whatever you're good at, check out this that I'm good at.
Right.
And yeah, I might not be good at getting some of the little tasks done. I might not be good at reading a big book, but I might have to listen to the book rather than read it. But man, I'm proud of this thing that I created.
Right. Yeah, I can so relate to that, because if I listen or watch a film, I never forget the content.
Yeah.
And part of my dyslexia is not only I don't forget the content and the story that's sort of obviously right there on the screen or on the audio, but I can understand what's underneath the story. And it really sticks with me, and I can viscerally learn that content or that idea or that storyline. And I can kind of understand it in such a deeper way than the medium of print or writing. So I just chose to find ways to kind of get the content in a different way. And that sort of really empowered me. And it sounds like you were similar, to then to learn to be thirsty for knowledge and to learn, but to learn my own way. And as I did that over the years, that muscle became stronger. And now, I can go to an event or to have whatever dinner or whatever. People, oh, did you read this book? I have no issue. Says, no, I didn't, but I listened to the podcast, or I listened to the audio track, or I read, unedited version, or the editor's cut, or whatever. Like, I always try to find so much more ways in. And that's really been a great way to sort of still be curious with the stories and with what's, but just approach it differently.
It's a great point.
Yeah.
And also, I think, to add to what you're saying, a collaboration I've learned is huge. It's great to keep growing as we grow, and also to know what we're not good at and to collaborate with people who are good at the things we're not good at. Because I think that's 1 + 1 = 5 when you're collaborating with someone who can do the things that you can't do.
Oh my God, I agree 100% with that. And I'm sure that when you do your productions, your films, the foundation, it's always a collaborative effort. You can't do it on your own. And what's the point? So as we learn that our differences maybe been more struggles earlier on, now there are the strengths, because I can come and sit with my team as we just designed the Schwab Learning Center that supports a lot of students in Stanford and high school students with learning differences and dyslexia. And one of the first paradigm was that we're referring to it as a learning center, as a learning disability place that we can help you get over your dyslexia. And for us, it was really more about, like, why can't we have, and it goes to something you said earlier, why can't we have a place where you learn how to innovate like a dyslexic? You learn to innovate with your gift, and then you learn how to work with others, not to try to suppress the way you see the world, but to add it to the other way of thinking. So you create a truly collaborative, neurodiverse framework that you can get, as you say, 1 + 1 = 5, because we know how to dance together. A part of it for me was, over the years, learn how I took different content in, and it wasn't that I'm not good at learning. I learned differently. Yeah. And then I learned how to feed my dyslexia. So sometimes I want my dyslexia to go to 11, and I create environments around me that are super saturated with stimulation and ideas and noise. But then other times I need to turn it down to 3 so I can talk to, maybe a client or maybe a colleague or maybe my team, to be able to kind of meet with the different modalities. And then we kind of dance away, and then we dance together. And that sort of collaborative play is it's a beautiful way to experience whatever it is we're doing. So,
Well said. I like that.
yeah.
Yeah. I couldn't have said it better.
I'm so curious. I know you went to NYU, an amazing school, and you graduated. That's amazing as dyslexic. That's always a huge thing to achieve. But not only that, you also did it with honors. So, I know a lot of dyslexic really struggle, as we said, with the educational system. How did you experience that? What did you do to achieve that success?
It's a funny thing. I really didn't know that I had done that until graduation day. I showed up at graduation and they gave you, like, on the tassel on the top of your hat when you're graduating. Our graduation was at Madison Square Garden, the theater. And I showed up and they said, "Oh yeah, you get a gold tassel." I'm like, "Oh, why?" It's like, "Oh yeah, you're magna cum laude." I had no idea. This shows, like, at this point in my life, it's cool. I was so not focused on grades. I was so focused on what I loved, the making films. I had no idea that that's what I did. And then I got that little tassel that was gold. I'm like, "Oh, that's cool." So it's a great thing to be able to say. I also cared very little at that point because by then I was kind of over the education system and I was ready to fully be me and not try to fit into the classes and the system and stuff. But I got help to do it. I got help to extra time, dictating sometimes, things like that, to do tests and things like that. So I think that really helped me excel because I wasn't being put in situations where I'm going to fail in the school system. So I think that's how it happened, and I was as surprised as you are when I actually got it.
Well, it sounds like, I also went to art, well, focusing in the art school and such. And I really found that I focused on the things I love to do. So I was obsessive about it,
Yeah.
and the secret, I think, to sort of being really good at something, that you just obsess about a single thing over a long period of time and you become, an expert, So to me, classes was I would sit on random classes if I have some time off because I was just curious, I took a lot of film classes. I volunteer in the film department and learn about the equipment so I can lend it out to the film student. I just got obsessed with all of the other mediums of expression and creation and storytelling. And I did less on the more academic classes, but it sounds like that when you follow what you love, and then it's no longer work. It's just like I can't get enough of it, right?
That's exactly it. It never felt like work. Film classes, acting classes, they never felt like work to me. It was something that I'd stay up all night working on, but it wasn't working. I was doing what I loved.
Right.
I was editing. I was creating soundtracks. I was filming, I was acting and stuff. I was coming up with new ideas. I was teaching myself how to edit and how to I was teaching myself how to layer soundtracks. This was before it was as user friendly as it is now. So yeah, it was my passion. It didn't feel like school.
Yeah.
Especially once I got over the 101 classes that you have to do. And I was in my element.
Well done.
I got to do a report at NYU on the Muppets. That was awesome. Like, I told you, I made this sock puppet movie, and then they were like, "You get to do a report on the Muppets." I mean, what? I got to go to Sesame Street. I got to go watch them film Sesame Street for school. Like, this wasn't school to me. This was like what I've always loved to do. So
right.
All of a sudden, it wasn't school anymore. It was me doing what I love.
What kind of additional advice would you give to people that are struggling in school right now?
The biggest advice I would give is be you, and always remember that those struggles are going to, in the long run, make you who you are. And you're not alone. Keep fighting. The system, depending on where you're at or what school you're at, the system wasn't designed for you, and it's not your fault. So just keep fighting and keep doing your passion, because when school is done, the thing that you're passionate about, the thing that you work hard on, that you're good at, that's what's going to matter in life. So don't let the system bring you down. Let your talents bring you up.
Beautiful.
I think that's what I'd say.
Yeah, no, I think that's, I mean, I wrote down in my notes, be you. I mean, that is, some people live their whole life trying to get to that destination and they realize they've been sitting on it all along. So the sooner we embrace it with those challenges, the sooner we can kind of, be more compassionate toward ourselves and others, So what has been the reaction of fellow dyslexic to your journey?
Oh, people really open up. People love it because I've found when we open up first, when we say, look, here's what I was just like at some fancy stuff in Europe partly for the foundation and at the Venice Film Festival. And I would tell people about our foundation. And it was amazing, the reaction. These are rich people, famous people, all the kinds of things. And I'd say, yeah, I'm doing this foundation. I have learning disabilities. I have, dyslexic, ADHD. And some people would say, oh my gosh, I struggle with something invisible. And all of a sudden, the conversation went from wherever we were at to who we really are. So what I find is that talking about it gets people, wherever your status is in society, to talk about really who you are as a person. And all the other stuff kind of floats away to the wayside. So I love it. I mean, I really, really love those reactions, and I think it's very powerful.
Yeah, it's can definitely hear from what you're saying that it sort of takes all of our successes and our differences and our accolades and our background and makes us human.
Yeah.
And everybody can relate to that, it's so powerful. Yeah.
And more people should do it. It's a lot of people who learn normally or who learn within the system. I don't think they ever get the gift that we have of being able to be comfortable expressing ourselves and who we are because they've fallen within the system. So they've never had to talk about what their struggles are. Everyone has struggles. Hate to break it to anyone. Everyone has struggles. Everyone has things they're not good at. Everyone has insecurities. Everybody projects things that they're insecure about on others. It's part of human nature. So it's good to get in touch with it sooner than later. And a lot of people who learn normally don't get that gift as quickly because they are falling within the system. And so their things that make them who they are fall through the cracks because they're told you're within the system. Everything's fine. And it's not always fine, we all are different.
Yeah. So true. So true. How can the film industry better support creatives with dyslexia?
The film industry can better support people with dyslexia by continuing to be inclusive and to continue talking about it. People don't talk about it enough. In the studio system, in the studio world, people don't talk about it at all. The suits, the people, the people who are at the offices I'm literally across the street from Universal right now in my office, and the people there don't talk about it. It's like a lot of Hollywood is about trying to be the same, and we're about accentuating and talking about how we're different. And so the system should continue to empower people who are different in Hollywood, because guess what? That gets better directors, better actors, better writers, better studio execs, better performers. Everything becomes better when you let people be who they are. So I think inclusivity, it's part of what we're working on with I Am Able. Inclusivity is so key. Talking about it is so key. And we need to keep doing that in Hollywood.
Yeah. It's always surprising to me. So many famous director, producer, filmmaker, actors that have learning differences, and some of them are very outspoken about that. And frankly, their work really shines because the way they see the world differently through whatever medium they participated in. And it's kind of amazing that 1 out of 5 persons are dyslexic. So both within the studio, within the office, within the creation, within all the mechanics of it, but also the audiences.
Yeah.
1 out of 5 is dyslexic. And so even if it's just within the working collaborative environment to bring that creativity, the genius, the storytelling, the collaboration, but the audience as well. And that's just sort of the opportunity to sort of make that inclusive on both sides of the story, of the conversation, of the content, only would make it more successful, not less successful. And it's one of those things that I think you were hitting on it, is that the sooner we can talk about it, the sooner it becomes empowerment, strength-based model versus a deficient model where we're trying to sort of spend energy hiding and putting in the shadows and not talking about it, but still wrestling in the back of the mind or the back of the house in some sense with how to avoid the conversation. So I love that. And I would love to see more of that being celebrated, and not just for it, but for the collaborative mindset, for the outcome, the collective outcome.
I agree, because for as many people that have succeeded and been able to excel, there are so many people who haven't, who have fallen through the cracks, who are talented, who are brilliant in their own way, but they've been held back because they weren't able to get over their difficulties. And we want to make sure that everyone is able to succeed in their own way. Not, we hear that Steven Spielberg is dyslexic, so that's great, but look at his career and what he's done. We need it to become more accessible, more from the ground, not from, oh, wow, there's one person or there's two people who are dyslexic. There's so many that are not them.
Sure. What is coming up next for you?
Well, we have a lot with I Am Able, so definitely follow that. And then we have some other projects coming out. Right now there's a strike, so a lot of the industry is quieted. But we do have some films. If you follow me at The Aaron Wolf on all social platforms, we have some projects I can't totally talk about yet, but some cool documentary work that we're doing in lieu of the strike, because we can still do that. So we have a bunch of different stuff, one on a couple on some notable people, one on a topic that is very important to me, one on there's a wide variety of cool new projects that have come about because of the strike that are unscripted. There's no writers, there's no acting, but it's storytelling. And I say, when people ask, what do you like more, your documentary work or your scripted work? I say, I love all of it because it's storytelling. And any way you can convey a story that's best, do it. So if it's through a bunch of actors in a comedy or through real life interviews and exploring a topic and going on an adventure, all of it I love.
That's awesome. I'll definitely make sure for our audiences that all of Aaron's information, links, and way to access what he's doing, the foundation and beyond, is available in the podcast notes.
Oh, you said podcast. I have a podcast. We're on, I think, episode number 120, something like that. I've been doing it for over 3 years. So if you Google or go on podcast and look up The Hopeless Show. We have lots of fun, some fun guests, and we try to bring hope to all things hopeless. And it's me and my podcast partner, Rohit. We've been doing it for a while, so I think some people might get a kick out of our show.
We'll definitely include all that information as well. Aaron, thank you so much for joining us today. It's been delightful to talk to you as always, and so inspiring.
Yeah, thanks, Gil. I really appreciate you bringing these conversations to a platform for people to listen and understand. And by all means, anyone who's listening, if you have any questions, reach out to me. I like to talk about this stuff, if you can't tell. So it's part of my world. And so, yeah, I really appreciate you having me on. It's been an absolute delight. It has been wonderful.
If you enjoyed our conversation today, be sure to subscribe to this series wherever you get your podcasts, and follow along on Instagram at Dyslexic Design Thinking. You can also drop us a line at dyslexia@gershoni.com to receive our monthly newsletter and learn about our upcoming programming. Dyslexic Design Thinking is produced by Gershoni Creative. Until next time, be well.